the song. Wacho or Wacho, come to me away. That's the last time I heard the song. So when I heard it today, it just brought memories flooding back. But thank you for staying with us. We're about to dig into the papers. And joining me via Zoom, Gifty Ando Apia, who also is head of our security desk. You saw her a short while ago. Gifty, if you can hear me, a very good morning to you. Hello, Gifty. Good morning.
Hi, Benjamin, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and you're glowing as usual. Nice background, by the way.
Oh, right. Gomez knows where it is.
Oh, okay. Gomez, by the way, happens to be one of our directors. So if he knows, Gifty will have a lot to say about that. But anyways.
Don't waste your time. There's nothing to know.
There's nothing to do, Yebehu. All right, so we have quite a number of papers to get into. Walk us through the papers you have this morning, Gifty.
Okay, I have the Dispatch newspaper, and then I have the Finder newspaper as well. I also have the Ghanaian Times newspaper, and I have the Daily Guide newspaper. So I have four, Benjamin.
Okay, from my end, the Ghanaian Publisher, the Daily Graphic, the Daily Statesman, the Custodian, Republic Press, and the Business and Financial Times. So let's check out your headlines, Gifty, the ones you'd like to delve into this morning. Starting
with the Dispatch newspaper. Okay, just hang on a second. There it is. Banner headline is suspend mining in all forest reserves. That story is on page 12, and it comes with a picture of the Minister for the sector, Samuel Abu Jinapo. And then, well, the story, it includes Lands Minister orders, and then Obeda Samwa on the Busia era. That story is on page 3. And then Akufo-Addo will not hesitate to reshuffle his ministers after 1 year. Comes with a picture of the president, and that story is on page 11. And Zoom Lion donates to Let Make Accra project, Accra work project. Back page of the same newspaper is where you have the details of the Samuel Abu Jinapo's order for the suspension of prospecting in all forest reserves. And right beneath that is a picture of Al-Hassan Tampuli, former head of the NPA. The story is, I find myself in a very enviable position, Hassan Tampuli, on his ministerial appointment. Let me quickly move to the Finder newspaper. Banner headline for the Finder newspaper. Abu Jinapo suspends prospecting in forest reserves. That story has been trending this yesterday. No renewed or processing of new applications. Directives takes effect in 7 days. Story is on page 4. And then there are other stories, plenty of stories on the Finder newspaper's front page. GRA bans cash payments effective June 1. Akufo-Addo appoints Oboshi Kofi as Media and Strategic Communications Advisor. National Tripartite Committee begins processes to set new minimum wage. And Ghana's economy bounces back on growth part, page 8. And then Ghana School of Law to celebrate the legacy of the late Ochiame Bafo Oseakoto, page 8. That is the Finder newspaper for you. Let me go on with the Ghanaian Times. Ghanaian Times also the same story. Mineral prospecting in forest reserves suspended. Picture of the minister comes with. And respond promptly to early warning signals. That is the story attributed to the Chief of Staff, Primose Opare. And then boost for Let Accra work again. And then 98 Togolese Benin illegal immigrants arrested in Volta region. So a lot happening there in Volta region as far as people trying to enter into the country. Final newspaper is the Daily Guide newspaper, front page. Ex-SSNIT Boss. 4 others face 29 new charges. And then government suspends prospecting of forest reserves. Akufo-Addo is my paddy. E.T. Mensah is saying that. Court grants Agrada 500,000 bail, rearrested by police, I guess because she couldn't meet the bail conditions. And yeah, I'll just leave it there. Benjamin, let me hand over to you now.
Okay, thank you very much, Gifty. But on the bit of Paddy, Kufuor and teammates, what would that be? Paddyism. That's just on the lighter note. But with the Daily Graphic newspaper now, it says suspend all activities in forest reserves. Lands Minister directs, and 16 excavators seized in Western region. Pass tax exemptions bill to check financial drain, and then AG revives Ernest Thompson's case. That's actually on page 20 of the news paper. And I'm talking here about the former Director General of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, we all call it SSNIT, Ernest Thompson, and 4 others who are back in court for allegedly causing financial loss of $14.8 million to the state. Push investment into road infrastructure. That's according to an expert, Dr. William Accra. He is senior research scientist with the CSIR. Now, other bits and pieces that we can take a look at in the Daily Graphic newspaper, page 7, there's a bit of an editorial there. Wikipedia's insult of the black race. You can check out, it's someone's opinion piece. India sets COVID-19 record amid oxygen shortage, and India is indeed in dire straits. Deaths rose by 2,104 in the same time period. I'm talking about some 24-hour periods, the highest one-day tally recorded anywhere in the world. And it's India's worst toll. It brings the country's total confirmed cases close to 16 million, second only to America's 31.9 million. And here I'm talking about North America, specifically the United States. Another opinion piece on page 10, where are we going? Reminds me of that song, We Are Going. Only heaven knows where we are going. You go to the middle spread of the paper. Respond to warning signals. Chief of Staff charges RCCs, that is the Regional Coordinating Councils, and then prosecute perpetrators of collapsed banks. What do you think about that? Because it appears, yes, we had the banking sector cleanup. We're still in the midst of it in certain ways. The cost of it still like an albatross around our necks. But what happens to those who actually oversaw this ghastly enterprise? Do they get away with it? On the back page, government LMI holdings to build more industrial parks. I'll very quickly take a look at the other papers. The Ghanaian publisher, government gets tough on Galamsey, bans prospecting activities in forest reserves. I find myself in a very enviable position. That's Hassan Tampuli. And then there's this one. U.S. ambassador supports Otumfuo to protect Lake Bosom. Then there's the Daily Statesman. Leave the forest reserves now. Yes, Mr. Minister, I hope that actually pans out. But how about we make Etiwa a forest reserve as well and protect it? I know I'm treading into some very...
What is a forest reserve? That's why Arocha, for example, is up in arms against mining of bauxite in that area, although government has justified it by saying that, you know, we've got money, so let's make use of the money we've got.
So here's my point. In recent times, there was another, I think it was the United Nations. You know, there have been communications over time. Even the one about some 3 groups, including the BMW group, that said that it may not buy, you know, bauxite or aluminium processed from Etiwa. Then the recent one about giving further protection to Etiwa because of some of the species that are likely to go extinct in there. So that's why I'm talking about an even enhanced form of protection for that forest reserve. So if we're talking about this on the back of Galamsey, how about bauxite mining and Etiwa as well? That's the point I seek to make. Then government directs companies engaged in mining, reconnaissance, and prospecting. The custodian, Akufo-Addo, retains 11 deputy ministers, picks 28 new ones. NDC is now practicing patronage politics, and Zoom Lion donates cars to support Let's Make Accra Work project. The Republic, Agrada in fresh trouble. Apparently, the lightning could not prevent her being arrested. Well, she's been rearrested after bail. And there's Northern Region police hunt teacher for impregnating students. My final paper, the Business and Financial Times, increasing utility tariffs will collapse private businesses. Economy may not return to normal in 2020. 2021. Those are some key stories in the BNFT. So, Gifty, as we get into this matter, I also spotted a story. I think you have the Ghanaian Times, the one about 98 Togolese and Beninese illegal immigrants rounded up in the Volta region. How much more can you tell us about that? And of course, as we're talking security and even our borders with Togo, these are some surrounding circumstances. How much more do we know about this situation, Gifty?
Well, this is this fresh arrest is not something that I am at the moment aware of details. What we do know, by the way, is that our borders are shut and people aren't supposed to be coming in at this point. But it looks to me like there's a lot of activities going on around our borders in the Volta region, because barely 2 weeks or so ago was when we got the story about the arrest of some 9 Nigerians. And out of these 9 Nigerians, the security agencies had the suspicion that they could be a part of those convicts who broke jail in Nigeria. So I don't have the details of this particular story at the moment. But Benin through Togo to Ghana is pretty easy. I've gone to Benin through the Togo border, and so it's very easy because you know how the way the borders are. Just like yesterday, we were checking out our boundaries, etc. It won't be so. I'm not surprised that we're having Benin coming in. What I'm impressed about, by the way, is that we've been able to arrest them. But I can tell you for a fact that perhaps there are people who have slipped through that we haven't been able to get hold of. But 98 of them, that's a lot. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to continue to resource our men who man our borders, because the borders are really porous. We know that for a fact. I'm excited that we're able to make these arrests now, but I think there's still a lot of work that we need to do. We'll be checking with the security agencies in the Volta region to get more information, and the immigration service to get more information on these new arrests that have been made. But we do know also that the 9 arrests that were made is still an outstanding case. We haven't had information enough from the immigration service nor from any of the security agencies that we understand are looking into this.
Well, one thing is clear, Gifty knows how to cross borders. You know how to cross borders. But that's on a lighter note. So quite a bit of concern here. Yesterday, I think I saw a post, I don't know, from Kwame A+, at least I saw something like that talking about. So when you go to certain areas, those screaming, Lagos, 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 cars, you know, what is happening? Where are they going? If our land borders indeed are closed, why do we have buses supposedly, plying those routes? So I think this gives us a lot of food for thought. There's a lot that we have to digest on these matters. Did you say this was happening now? This was something that was happening now? Well, from what I saw, that was what it was intimating. Now, the land borders are shut, but maybe the key might be Lagos, Lagos, Lagos. Where is the car going? Well, I don't have my own independent unless it's Lagos town of his post. But what I do know is that it's very usual. Until the borders were closed because of COVID-19, it's very, very usual to hear those vehicles, soliciting passengers to go into Nigeria. It's very normal. And one of the concerns that the security agencies have had about it is that, so if somebody commits a crime, for example, they commit a crime today, all they can do is very easy for them to jump on a bus that's going out of the country. Yeah. It was a concern for them. I don't know how they managed to deal with that or how they are dealing with that, but it was a concern. So it's not new. It's not entirely new. It's not a big deal. It happens all the time. What I don't know is whether it is happening now that the borders have been closed because of COVID-19. Well, on page 5 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, black teenage girl shot dead by police in Ohio. I just had to highlight that because that has triggered another movement, an entire, uproar, and it's about the late Micaiah Bryant, and people calling, even on the back of the supposed win against Derek Chauvin, people are still, black people, I should say, in the United States, still feeling the pinch when it comes to supposed racist attacks. Maybe your brief thoughts on that, and then you can share some other stories from the papers that you'd like to touch on. Yeah.
I mean, it's a worrying situation, but I would love to get more information, the circumstances surrounding this particular case. We know that people didn't start dying now, but we know also that there has been this clear imbalance over the years where you have white police officers or Caucasian police officers being the ones at the back of the gun when some of these murders or alleged murders occur. So I'd love to know the details of this particular story to be able to share my thoughts. But I think that even though we've had this landmark case, in the US and everybody's talking about it and they are hopeful that it is going to stop some of these nonsense, I think we probably should just give it some time. We probably should just give it some time.
So what we do know about it is that she was wielding a knife. She was supposedly threatening to stab someone else. I mean, you see in the footage, if you follow the story, you would see her with a knife, okay? And you would hear the police officer from the body cam and all of that scream, hey, get down, and then she is shot subsequently, 16, 17-year-old. So yes, investigation still ongoing, but the question is, could this not have been averted? Was she really going to stab the other person? And what could the police officer have done differently? All of these are in there.
I don't know what she was doing with the knife and how close she was to the officer, because if you have a knife, you need to get close to me to be able to harm me with it, unless you're going to use the knife to harm yourself, which, of course, if I'm a police officer, or police officers are obliged to stop people from committing suicide. Everybody else is obliged to stop people from committing suicide. So if what she was using the knife for was to hurt herself, then, maybe a shot, trying to do something that will stop her. And police officers, I know, are trained to shoot. So you don't just shoot somebody in the heart or in the chest. You can shoot them anywhere, in the leg, in the thigh. I don't know how easy that is, because aiming with a gun is also a whole different, it has its own dynamics that you need to understand and learn about. So you can shoot them anywhere apart from a place that will kill them. But if she was holding the knife and threatening to attack this officer, and this officer was far away, because you need to get close to me to use the knife, then I don't think it's justifiable. But again, this is just happening. I don't have the details of how it happened. But I'm saying that I think 16, 17, some youth, especially in America, can be very erratic. We don't even want to talk about that. So I'm not giving it to the officer, but I'm saying that young people can also be very erratic. Again, it might take a little bit of time for this landmark case to go down and sink into the heads of these officers who sometimes behave, on racial discrimination lines, or people who profile people, white officers who profile black people. I think it will go. We need some time for it to sink in.
Racial profiling is
young people.
That's a
be
problem.
Careful the way they behave, just because the police. Hello. You hear me?
So I was just saying that racial profiling is an entire problem on its own, and we might need an entire show to discuss that.
By saying that just because there has been a case that sort of gives victory, brings victory to the black community, it doesn't mean that people should go daring the police. It doesn't mean that people should go, rubbing it in. I think there has to be work.
So more caution ought to be observed.
While you're telling the police officers not to shoot and kill people, you should also be telling young people to be responsible in their behavior.
Is there any other story you'd like to highlight?
I think I did see a couple stories that I was interested in.
So that would have to be very brief. It would have to be very brief, but go ahead and highlight that story.
Okay. There's a story about, it's an interesting one. 90-year-old Konimo saying that respect for women has made him live long. I just wanted to advise men like yourself and Gomez and all.
Why single out? Why single out yours truly, Gomez and the rest?
I'm just using you as a point of contact.
We are the guinea pigs, eh? Okay.
No. I think it's an interesting. Konimo is somebody that a lot of Ghanaians, we should learn a lot about him. We should have him in our history books and learn a lot about when it comes to music and his contribution to the arts. So, I found it interesting that he's here in the story. But there's also a story that's been attributed to Rico that says Accra alone consumes over 25% of our total power supply. And I'm like, okay, let's fix it then. Let's do what we have to do to get there.
If you've noted that, you must put in place the right mechanisms. And this is the capital anyway. Everywhere you go, the capital has a lot more when it comes to road infrastructure, a lot more pressure on it when it comes to electrical infrastructure or energy infrastructure. So a little surprise in there for me.
Yeah. Well, and then there was also the story that I saw about top 10 accident-prone areas.
Oh, yes.
In Accra.
Yes.
And that feeds into our Drive Safe campaign, and you see the pictures. And I really don't know if we need a magic wand to just,
No, we can't wish it away. Unfortunately, we can't wish it away.
Well, I just wanted to highlight it to just remind people and to keep it back still in the minds of people that we are still in this campaign, and it's up to us to be responsible on our roads, and it's up to us to protect ourselves and to protect others who use the roads.
Right, so let's all drive safe. We'll wrap with myjoyonline.com. Some interesting stories there. Abandoned agenda, 111 hospitals to resource NHIS. Abeka Nkrumah tells government. There's a SSNIT OBS scandal, states use Ernest Thompson and 4 others again. And there's WAEC needs a regulator, Africa Education Watcher. Kofi Asare has been saying that. There's also this one. Election 2020, it is absolutely preposterous to think NDC didn't collate its results. That's according to Elvis Efriye Accra. And I was the least expected candidate. John Kumar speaks on his deputy ministerial appointment. You can check out that story and others there. Yesterday, the story as well, it's also there, the bit about Peter Anti of the IES saying that the WASI results, the number of Ghanaian students who chalked 8As has nothing to do with free SHS. That and many more stories on myjoyonline.com. Gifty, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you for your time.
Have a great day.
Right, see you later in the day. Right now, though, it's time for us to move over for sports. That's up next on the AM show. Do stay.